Oh, notepad.
You're on now. You're on now. Don't nobody go. Come back. Hello and welcome to the Saturday night or Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to this week's episode of Mithras, the Odes campaign. I was.
Well, let me write that down. Odes.
It's always been the Odes campaign.
It's been so long since we played that. I forgot what we're on.
Well, I've got a good round of synopsis of what's gone on, so don't worry.
Oh, where's Raph?
So I was poorly last week, and I think the week before that we didn't play. I think we played Starfinder the week before that.
Played Starfinder the week before, yeah.
Yeah, so it's about it's 3 weeks, isn't it?
It's ages.
I think Longshanks, you were away for 2 weeks, weren't you?
That's right.
I was going to be away for 2 weeks, but I was away for 1 week, and then you were ill the other week.
Oh, right. So we've been around for 2 weeks, so which means that the party are probably will not remember what dice to roll, when to roll it, or what to do for half the adventure, which is quite normal. So anyway, let's start off by allowing the players to introduce who they are.
New screen. New dice rolling.
Oh wow,
that's everything in.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm thinking now.
Yeah, I checked. All the skills are still there, and they're right.
No, but we're on it because Inwells has a certain size box that they.
I know, I do. I'm just now while you're introducing yourselves, I'm going to actually move everything round so it actually fits better. So
will you do that, and I'll start introducing myself.
Yeah, I was going to say, by all means, who would like to go first and introduce their character?
I will. Thank you.
Go for it then.
Because it's normally Mr. Pickles, and I can see now, looking at him on Zoom, that he's really annoyed now that I'm going. Anyway, hi guys, I'm Chugga. Tonight I am playing a character called Gulliver. Gulliver is the youngest member of the party by far, I think. I think the next youngest is probably Mr. Pickles' character. Medivac's character, apparently. Anyway, Gulliver is a bit scrawny. He's got ginger hair, freckly complexion. He travelled to the land of Odes whilst being given instructions by his master at that time, which was Master Healy, where he was coming to learn more about the sorcery. In particular, he came to track down a certain individual, which he hasn't managed to do yet, although he has found some more information about him. He's a sorcerer. He's an apprentice in the Order of the Kraken, which is one of the 4 sorcery orders on Odes. The Order of the Kraken specializes in teleportation, communication, and transport spells. And that is Gulliver. And I will pass on to Mr. Pickles.
Oh, I thought you were going to round about having me go last this time. I was looking forward to being in the line. But I am Mr. Pickles. I play Bartleby Fumus, our team's theist of the light moon goddess Amriel. She covers all the areas of healing and illumination and being the best darn goddess possible. Bartleby is probably the most naive character of this group. He trusts mostly everybody. He trusts his church quite a bit, and he trusted the thugs that led him down an alley and broke his hands. That's pretty much that backstory bit of him. Otherwise, I supply information for the group in the form of monster knowledge, history, commerce, though Gulliver is also great at commerce as well, and a little bit of street pies on top. And with that, I will throw the microphone down over to Medivac.
Hello, and catch with style and panache. I'm Medivac, and I play Hazra Khan. He's a nomad from the steppes who's lost his tribe. He used to help people out on his way, trying to look for his tribe, but now he's fallen in with this group of adventurers here who are on a greater mission than his own. So he's basically a survivalist. He's a scout. He's quite handy in combat. He's starting to find out the value of religion and gods, which is something he never really thought about before. But now things are starting to open his eyes to a bigger world. bigger than what he thought it really was. And with that, I shall pass on to Longshanks EPG. Catch it!
Thank you very much, Moneyback. Hi guys, I'm Longshanks EPG. Tonight I'm playing the warrior Hengist. He also comes from a different land, like Gulliver, and they happen to be on the same ship travelling over to Odist, where they had lots of adventures with a slightly eccentric character called Captain Seatide. We sort of like found some islands and some magic-y people on islands and painted men on islands. That sort of thing, a giant scorpion, where Hengist, I think, got caught in some pincers and probably nearly got cut in half at one point. But he survived and made it to Odist, where he's been trying to track down his sister's kidnappers, but sort of like one by one, all the leads that he's had seem to have been drying up. He joined the town guard for Odist for a little while, although after the sort of like current sort of like mission and quest that the party are on, he's that's got caught up and sort of like heated up, so he's decided to leave the town guard for the moment and sort of like devote all his energies to the seeds and the chaos sorcerers and whatever they're called and that sort of thing. He's not too sure what they're called. All he knows is that we're after these seeds that do weird things, and he's currently on that. So I'll pass that on to Inwills.
Okay, so let's have a quick synopsis, and by all means, gentlemen, just jump in with any of the words that I'm missing. So it's a bit like close procedure work. So I might give a sentence and there might be a word missing. So you just jump in and we'll keep score. Okay, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so the party are currently harbouring some seeds of power, and these seeds were used long ago in a war and were actually the necromantic sort of like enemy were actually stopped by the Knight Templars using one seed against them. There's actually 4 seeds in existence, and then a 5th one that is a little bit special. Currently, the enemy, whoever that enemy might be, possesses 2 of them. The party did possess the other 2. However, one was given away to a previous character that was actually adventuring with the party called Ben, and it was handed over to him, and he disappeared with the fatal words of "Yes, we will," and headed off. And the other seed is held by Gulliver, but it's not with you, isn't it? Or is it?
It is indeed. It's in his backpack.
It's in your backpack. Fantastic. So the party, they had this seed. The seed of which seed does Gulliver have?
He has I should tell you. He has the seed of.
Reptiles, wasn't it?
Yeah, reptiles. Yeah, you have the seed of reptiles, and the 4 seeds control various things: reptilians, or birds, or fungus growth, etc., etc. However, when they were in the Knight Templars sanctuary, their tomb underneath Lindo, which is the central town of Odess, Bartleby stumbled across and actually gained a bracelet, and this bracelet is used there is something in conjunction with someone or something called Cassini, and Cassini has something to do with the fifth seed, etc., etc. Now, they continued to journey on to find out information. They journeyed up to a town called Ubin Falls. They came back. They fought a chaos beast in the middle of the Count Bastion's throne room, and they spent a lot of time in the library. And while they were there, they found out, and after talking to Sylvester McHoon, a cartographer from Lindo, that the actual bracelet was part of 3 things, and the other 2 things being
there was a death mask, wasn't there?
A death mask, and
a talk.
and a talk, T-O-R-C. Yeah, and so they decided to investigate it. They found out that one of the items, or maybe both the items, was part of Hessaret's treasure, and they decided to head over there, and they ported to an old sorcerer's tower. They defeated a whole load of bats. They climbed up ladders. They slew or slayed a mother lizard guarding its young, and then carried on down the side of the mountain where Hessaret got seduced by harpy, and everybody had to come to the rescue, and the harpy in the end flew off. And then, and this next bit, none of the characters actually remember at all. On their way down to Advent, they followed a stream, a river, and on the way they met a lady, a quite handsome, beautiful lady, who introduced herself as Cassandra. And she seemed to be almost like knowing what was going to happen, who they were, where they were going, and quite mysteriously, just as they approached Advent, she declared that she had to go. And she left, and as she left, the somewhat sunny day turned into dark and dismal rainy day, and the night settled in, the dusk settled in, and the party suddenly found themselves walking alone to the town of Advent. Now, we have actually got, if you remember, a map. Here's the map that, if you remember. So the purple cross there up to the west, that was where you actually came down to. And if you came through the tower then, if you remember, you went across the south side of the river, and then you appeared to arrive here. And this is a bridge that goes over the river to the town of Advent beyond. And that's where we finished it, just as you get into that bridge. And the night is falling. It's a bit dusky. It must be about 7 o'clock at night. The rain has started to fall, not heavily, but it's that drizzly rain that just clings to you, and the whole area seems quite it's almost like wilderness. There's no cultivated crops as you get close or anything like that. It seems that probably the whole town is more likely to be invested in trade and commerce rather than arable farming. Okay, so does anybody want to ask or say anything before we actually start off?
Luck points back.
Yes, luck points come back at the beginning of session.
Brilliant.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else people want to know?
Sorry, what time did you say it was?
It's about somewhere between 7 or 8 o'clock.
In the evening?
In the evening, yeah. And once Cassandra had left, remember, it was lovely and light and cheerful and spring-like when she was with you. But now it's almost like change once she left. And she left in a most peculiar way. It's almost as if you looked away, and then when you look back, she was no longer there. But, as previously mentioned, nobody remembers anything about it at all. The characters do not remember anything about it at all. They have almost like, it's a bit like when you walk to work and you're on autopilot, and you suddenly you suddenly think back, did I drive that? It's a bit like that. And that's where you arrive at the bridge to Advent. So you're currently, I'll just ping you on the map, you're currently stood there at the bridge.
So, looking over the bridge towards the town of Advent, is it a guarded town? Is it like a wall around it, archway?
Yeah. So what you should be able to see on the map, it's a palisade. So it's sort of like it's not walled, but it appears to be protected by some kind of palisade. So all the logs sort of like rammed into the ground to form almost like a big formidable fence. There is a gate, and the gate is directly on the path, not like on the map that it's off to the west. It's right in the middle, and there seems to be, you can see from looking across, that there seems to be sort of like 2 guards there, and there's obviously the possibility that the gate can be shut, although it's not shut at this present moment in time.
Okay. So Gulliver's going to turn around to everybody else and says, "It's getting pretty dark. But I think maybe we should try to find an inn for the night and then start our inquiries in the morning."
That sounds like an absolutely brilliant idea, Gulliver.
I concur, Gulliver. I think you're right. We should find somewhere to settle down for the night.
I don't know why we stopped right here. I don't feel like I need a rest, so I suppose we should be making more progress.
I was thinking that, I mean, we're going to need to question people, and I think most people will probably shut up for the night, and it might be better to wait until morning till there's more people about and there's shops open. I mean, we can try talking to somebody in the.
There might be people in the inn that we could talk to. The innkeepers are usually pretty knowledgeable of areas. They usually see all, the comings and goings and passings of travellers.
Yes, but in this weather, I wouldn't stop people in the street. They won't be very accommodating, getting wet while they stand and wait for us to talk.
No, I think you're probably right. Let's head in and let's find somewhere nice.
Hopefully they're hospitable.
Not too nice, just hospitable. Yes.
If we can find somewhere with cheese in the title, that would be absolutely fantastic. Maybe the dog and cheese.
Anybody who has a perception that a roll of 38 would be successful on a standard roll. If anybody has, so if you've basically got a perception of 38 or bigger, but not less than 38 because you failed. If you do have that, then you can see that the guards over the other side of the bridge, they seem to be eyeing you up quite warily now. And they seem to be armed with what appears to be long spears. There might be pikes, you're not too sure from this distance. And they're sort of like stood there, and you can see that they're sort of like moving their heads back and forth, it's almost as if they're trying to judge how many of you there are and whether or not you pose somewhat of a threat to them.
Hessaret will raise his hand and wave and say, "Hello there, we're just coming over. We're just lonely travellers looking for a place to stay, and we will be there in a moment. Please, can you point us to a hospitable inn we may stay at tonight?"
Yeah, so there's still quite a distance between the bridge and the guard, so you sort of like shout.
We'll start walking
across to them. Yeah. Does Hessaret actually have his face covered up, as in the token?
As usual, yes, he will have.
Yeah, so even that muffles your voice as you sort of like try to communicate round, and as you as a party walk towards Advent, the guards almost like straighten themselves up, as if it's almost like some kind of inspection or something like that. And then as you approach, everything seems to be going fine until you're almost about to pass the guards, and you sort of like think, oh, what's going to happen here? And all of a sudden they drop their pikes across, so it forms a cross across the doorway. You can still go under it. Yeah. It's almost like a gesture, a sign not to go any further. And one of them turns around to you, and he seems to be speaking to no one in general. He just seems to be talking to you all at the same time. And he's all right, looks at you, and he says, "And who be you then?"
Hessaret will draw himself up and then bow from the waist and say, "Greetings, sir. I'm Hessaret from the steppes, and these are my friends. We are just seeking an inn for the night."
Do they have any? Do they have any markings on them?
No, not at all.
Do they have a particular tabard with a crest on it or anything?
No,
like that?
no. They just seem to be almost like town militia. They're not sort of like bearing a crest or anything like that. And the guard has you sort of like talk to the guard, and the guard sort of like the one that first hailed you sort of like turns around to you and says, "That may well be, friend traveller, but seeing your face would actually be a lot more safe, especially in this outpost. What about the rest of you?"
You can certainly feel safe with me around. My name's Gulliver, and I represent the Order of the Kraken. And he'll sort of like almost like move his chest around so that they can and step close to them if they have sort of like a torch hung up or whatever.
Yeah.
So that they can see the pin that he has attached to his chest with the blue background, which dictates that he is in fact part of the Order of the Kraken.
Yeah, and well, once you announce that and once they see your pin, they almost like take a step back, not with shock, but almost more about reverence, maybe even respect. And he sort of like turns around to you and says, "There be not be a sorcerer here for some time, ever since and he sort of like looks down the river off to where you probably have journeyed from, and says, "Not since the sorcerer in the tower, legend says."
Legend says? How long are we talking?
"Oh, we have been... Advent has been here some time. The legend is told by old men round the fireplace in taverns. Are you a member... Do you inhabit that mage tower?"
No. I'm from Lindo. Well, I'm not from Lindo originally. I'm from a land farther away than Lindo, but I've spent the last nearly half a year in Lindo.
Lindo is a far, far away place. We generally find it by going through Sildar and then along the Great River until we get to the West Point. And then we have to travel. How did you travel here?
Well, I can't really tell you that, to be honest with you, because that would be order business.
They sort of like look at each other as if they're passing thoughts between each other, although they're obviously not magical in any sense. And
do you understand magic?
The other one says there be no orders here.
No, I meant the sorcery orders in when did you last have contact with Lindo?
Passing trade. We spent most of our time at Sildar, which is north of here. Do you know it? You can see it on your map.
I don't know it personally, but my friend here, Bartleby might know it. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to towns and monsters and.
So somebody's a rather hunched old man who's carrying a lantern appears, and he sort of like he's inside Advent's palisade, and he sort of like goes. He sort of like looks up at the guards, and the guards sort of like look at him, and the old man says, "It'd be time to close the gate soon." And then he sort of, and the guards sort of like nod, and they turn to you and says, "Will you be coming in or out for the night?"
"Oh, we're certainly coming in. Tell me, I do like a good story. Who would be the best? Who's the best storyteller in Advent? Who spins the best yarn about the castle on the?"
Yeah, so as you continue to talk, you sort of like make your way into the actual Advent, and they sort of like start to close the gate behind you, and they drop what appears to be a several huge bolts of wood down. So there's no locks or anything. It's just like two little things that hook up, and the bolt, the plank of wood rests on it, and they sort of like say to you, well, any of the taverns, there's often a bard in many taverns telling the stories. There's the Shining Hearth, there's the Golden Eagle, and the Copper Kettle.
Is any of them noted for cheese?
Cheese is a rare commodity out here. You might have noticed the lack of farm animals while approaching. We live off maybe the odd bear, some tough meat, puts hairs on your chests. That's what we like out here. No mamby-pamby milking, tell ya. And they sort of like continue to sort of like busy themselves.
Gulliver, let's try the Copper Kettle. They have the highest chance of having cheese in my guess.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a map of Advent, because I think it's good for you to get an inkling of what it's like. There are some numbers on it, but you will not know which numbers are what until obviously you sort of like go to those areas, and you will notice when you get there that the key I have removed on your map. Okay, but you get a general idea of what Advent is like. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can see where it says down at the bottom. You can see that it says to Advent Bridge. So this is where you are arriving at. Okay, and you can see that there's other exits through the palisade. This is the road that would go right way through, then carry on northward to Sildar in the end. And once you're in, you notice that number 4 right next to you is actually a tavern, and it's actually got over hanging outside what appears to be a rather, well, how can I put it? Once it was probably a wonderfully stuffed golden eagle. However, we've been outside and stuffed and hung from a pole coming out, a piece of plank of wood. It's lost most of its feathers, and there's various bits of it that has been pecked by the odd crow, and now it looks almost like a bald chicken, just sort of like hanging there, or dripping, and because of course it's still raining as the rain dribbles down. It doesn't look like it's happened just like this tonight. It looks like it's been there a long time. The other thing that you will notice is that the shutters to the tavern are shut. Okay, but you can see light emanating from underneath them, and you can hear the sound inside about people laughing and joking. And there's obviously, by the light, you could think there's probably maybe a lovely warm fire in there as well.
Gulliver's going to look up at this bald eagle thing, and he's going to say, I don't really think we should stay in this one. I think it's a bit close to the gate, so everybody's going to stop here because most people are going to be lazy to head further into the town.
The bar, the tavern door sort of like bursts open, and a man comes out with a lady. The lady's sort of like hung onto him, and he's sort of like, he's got what appears to be like a keg of beer or cider or something that he keeps swigging from, and she's very red in the face and very sort of like almost like she appears to be sober, while the guy's obviously, 7 sheets to the wind, and they sort of like stagger out, and he sort of like says, let's go to my place, Rose. And Rose sort of like says, oh, you dirty man, you! What would my friends think about me going into your house? And they sort of like carry on staggering along the path, going sort of like northwest.
I doubt they have any cheese in this place, Gulliver, but this might be the best bet to find any information.
I've spent a fair amount of time in towns bigger than Lindo, and to be honest with you, I think the only thing that we're going to find in there is probably trouble.
Isn't that what we're looking for, though?
No, we're looking for a really good storyteller so that we can hear the story of what happened to the tower.
The tower? I thought we were looking for Hessaret's treasure.
Shh. Not so loudly, bastard. You don't want to announce our presence here straight away.
Oh no, the Hengist curse is moving around the party.
We've got a seed!
Do
you carry a seed? Yes, Gulliver's got it. Oh, sorry.
We're going to have to ask somebody about it, though, eventually.
Do you wish to go into the Golden Eagle, or are you proceeding along the road?
We're going to... Well...
By the look of it, I think we should probably try somewhere else. If we go in here, we'll never hear the end of it from Gulliver.
Yes, I think we should move on and find something a little bit more suitable.
Moving on.
Can Gulliver use his knowledge of sort of like the makeup of towns, etc., to see whether or not he can find a better district?
Okay. Which skill are you planning on using?
Streetwise.
Yes, by all means.
So he'll look for stuff like, how, clean a street or,
So just before you roll it, what is the plan, therefore, to walk round Advent? You can see various numbers on the map. So it would be possible to sort of like make a circular tour if you wish, and then you would get a complete understanding of what Advent was like, rather than just standing here and trying to guess. You can roll your streetwise skill. Seems like Shadowrun. I'm sure it says. Cool. Yeah, the whole layout of this place is somewhat unusual for you, unless you wish to look it.
No. He'll sort of like he'll start wandering. He'll sort of like go, "We'll find somewhere else. Follow me. I'm used to being in places like this." And then he'll sort of like start going down and not finding anything. He'll sort of like, it's a bit dark. Maybe we should stop at the first one we find.
Perhaps we should follow the main road through the town.
Yeah, that seems like a good.
Might be up there.
Yeah. So you sort of like walk from this the southeastern gate up to nearly the northwestern gate, and there's various things you can see as you go around. You'll notice that number 1 on the map is actually what appears to be some kind of garrison watchtower. It really does sort of like capture the eye as you go round. It does have light or lanterns up at the top, and you can see that there's guards actually walking around there. You notice that the inner sanctum of Advent also has another palisade round it. It's not the outside one is not as tall as this one. So this one's a lot taller, and so it's obviously some kind of inner defense. And you will notice round number 1, which is obviously the garrison, is probably when the town militia camps out. That's also got this continuation of the palisade. Number 2 on the map is the marketplace. and you can see that it's quite empty now. However, round about it seems to be a whole load of shops. You figure, Gulliver, that the Advent is one of those places that the closer you are to the middle, the richer you are, and the less fortunate you are, you will be outside, definitely outside the inner palisade and probably round the edges somewhere. You notice that most of the buildings are shops, and they obviously got accommodation above or behind. There's very few within the actual inner palisade that are actually purely residential. And number 3 on the map is actually the Shining Hearth Inn. And this one looks, as you sort of like pass by it, it's a lot quieter. It's almost like seems more refined, and there's you see soldiers taking ladies into it, and even when you pass, there seems to be that dull chatter rather than that rowdiness that you heard at the Golden Eagle Inn. The other thing that I will tell you is just number 5, and you can probably see it as you go out, is the Copper Kettle Inn. Okay, that's where the Copper Kettle Inn is, and the sevens roundabout just to depict alleyways and things like that. And one thing that you notice, especially to the northwest of the town, not in the inner sanctum, but as you sort of like walk past the road, you also notice that there are quite a few children below the age of 18 or below the age of 16, looking rather weather beaten and in rags and things, and they seem to be huddled together round small fires done in some pewter bowl or whatever, and they seem to be covering round, hugging round that, and actually when you pass, they sort of like hold out their hand and say, "Any spare silver for my poor sister who's dying in her bed." Like this,
no!
And holds out things. The northwestern gate is shut, and you can see from here, you sort of like peruse round, and you can see that all the gates are shut for the night.
Are the guards posted on the inside of them?
Yes, on all of them. Very similar to the ones that you saw before. The houses round the outside, sort of like in this circle, does that make sense if I click there? Mm-hmm. In that sort of like rim, they seem to be more residents rather than actual shops. So obviously the centre of trade is actually in the in the middle. Does anybody have if you've got any history roll, you can roll history, or if you've got locale, you can roll locale, but the history would be standard, locale would be hard.
Locale would be for this area.
No, it's not at all. Any locale will work, because I just want to give you some general information about something. Locale.
It's got a history, so I'll throw a history over here.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, we all do.
Oh. I'm pretty sure we established that Bartleby, at the very least, has no understanding of the commerce of this general region.
No, none of you know about the growth of towns either at this precise moment in time. Yeah, so that sort of like, last thing, the routes, I want to say paths, but they're not paths. They're sort of like muddy gullies, and so it's not like
Sorry.
It's not like in Lindo when it's actually paved. It's not like that at all. And the main road that goes through Advent really has sort of like deep furrows where wagons have obviously been pulled backwards and forwards, and with the rain as it falls, there's puddles starting to form in various locations.
Gulliver's going to, after we've done a brief look round and seen where the copper kettle is, he's going to point to it and say, "There's the copper kettle. That's the one we chose, wasn't it?"
That's
Believe
number
so.
5, yeah.
Yeah.
But after seeing the shining hearth, that might be the more likely chance of finding cheese.
I was thinking about that, but there seems to be a lot of soldiers in there. And then he's going to get really close to Bartleby and say, "Soldiers don't like Hengist."
I'll just stare at Hengist and say to Gulliver, "That's true. Maybe we should go to the copper kettle."
I think so. It's probably best. He nearly got into a fight last time he was there.
Is anybody wearing a cloak of any description?
Yes.
I have a cloak.
I'm just wearing my robes, which I suppose are like a cloak, aren't they?
I have
A
padded quilted
cloak
armor, which
will-
It's just my face, doesn't it? Yeah.
Hengist, while all of you are sort of like busy talking in the town, in the marketplace, deciding where to go, you do suddenly feel your cloak giving a tug, and as you turn round, you notice there's a girl. She has blonde hair, but it's quite muddy and matted. You figure she's about 7, maybe 8. And she's very dirty and if somewhat a bit smelly, and she sort of like holds out her hand to you and says, "Have you got a silver piece? I got no food to eat."
Angus looks at her.
And she sort of like does that wonderful moment from Shrek when the cat goes and gives you puppy dog eyes, and she's just like, "I haven't eaten for days.
Well, rise, force yourself, young girl.
My tummy is rumbling something dreadful.
What's your name?
I might die tonight without any food."
Hengist looks at Bartleby, sees Bartleby is slowly sort of having a heart attack out of guilt. Looks at her and reaches for his pouch and pulls out a single silver piece.
Yeah, you pull out this single silver piece, or you sort of like get it out, you pull it out, and when you look back, there's now 3 of them. There's a little girl like that, and there's 2 younger boys. They still look untidy, like urchins, and they one of them says, "Oh, one of the boys say, I've got a broken leg. I can't run. It is deformed." And in order to sort of like promote this, he sort of like does a hobble around and sort of like limps as he goes around, and he's sort of like, "Please, some silver to help my leg." And the other boy says, "I've got only one eye that works. Silver for me, please."
Children, I believe I can help you. I serve the goddess of Amriel. I may be able to cure your malfunctioning leg and eye. I raise my hands.
They sort of like they're quite taken aback when you talk about religion and something. And they sort of like says, "Who's Amriel?"
Amriel is the goddess who will save your lives if you allow her to. I walk towards them. I'd like to begin praying the prayer of healing, and I guess moving towards the leg wobbly kid, who I'll refer to mentally as Killdeer.
Yeah. So you sort of like commune with your goddess and prepare to sort of like give out the blessings, and just do your role.
This is the power, and this is looking pretty now. I think that's all the magic.
Yeah. So, and just as the magic starts to flow over towards this boy, you definitely get the feel that he doesn't have anything wrong with his leg.
Gulliver used to be an orphan and lived on the streets for a fair bit as well. I don't know whether or not he's ever seen any sort of like cons or anything on the same nature.
You can roll your you can roll your
Can
street.
I roll my insight to see?
Oh yeah, you can see insight. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, you figure from your previous experience plus the boy with who claimed that he only had one eye. The next time he turns around, he's got the other eye shut. And he says, "Heal me of my semi-blindness." And then the girl sort of like nudges him, and he goes, "Sorry, my semi-blindness." And you figure, Gulliver, that they're actually pulling some kind of con.
Gulliver's
probably just for silver.
Yeah, Gulliver's going to say, "You obviously need more help than we can give. We're just travellers, and we'll go and get the guards. They'll know what to do."
The young girl is sort of like, her eyes are fixed on that silver piece, Hengist, that you're still holding, and she sort of like goes, "Just one piece of silver, and I will be able to eat tonight, and maybe get shelter, so I don't freeze to death or melt away in this rain. One silver piece, kind sir." And she holds out her hand, and she actually holds it out with both hands, as if she hasn't got the strength herself to just hold out one of them. And she goes, "Please, kind sir."
Hengist will so he's holding the silver coin between his two fingers like this, and then he turns it so he's got his thumb underneath and just flicks it in the air towards them.
Yeah, and as it flicks towards, she quite deftly goes like that and sort of like picks it out of the air, and she goes, "Thanks," like that, and the three of them rush down a side alley and running away. The guy with the hobbly leg is running absolutely fine, and you can hear them laughing between them and sort of like, "Would you believe they fell for the blind eye trick?" I don't think anybody would guess that I had a bad leg at all. And they sort of like run off into the darkness.
Gulliver's going to look at Hengist and say, "I probably changed where you keep your money pouch, Hengist."
It's going to be changed. Don't worry.
And another thing, Frank Hengist, give them an apple next time rather than money. If they're hungry, give them food.
It's good to be, a silver giver and charity giver occasionally.
I thought you were going to say stupid. Let's get to the inn.
So which inn are you going to?
Number 5.
Copper Kettle.
You're going to the Copper Kettle.
We hadn't. I think that's what we decided. Bartleby and Gulliver were having a discussion, and did we decide, Bartleby, that because of Hengist's issue with authority, that we were going to go to the Copper Kettle?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Hengist doesn't have an issue with authority; he just has an issue with the town guard in Lindo because they don't like him anymore.
So, as you leave the road, you cut through the marketplace and then you turn left. So you're sort of like coming down this way. You do notice that there's guards posted at the side entrances as well, but the doors are still open. But the one to the outside is shut. And you come down this sort of like pathway here, round to the Copper Kettle Inn. Now,
as we make our way round there, Gulliver wants to walk next to Hengist, and he wants to say, What do you make of the advent, Hengist?
It's clearly a town that has hardship for the sheer amount of orphans that are around, and it seems to be a fairly.
But the walls and the gates. Do you think they're to keep something out or to keep us in?
It's more just to stop.
And why is the garrison the most heavily fortified place?
But it's usually in these sorts of smaller towns. They would have the central area to protect, and that would be the main area that they would protect. And the palisades are probably as much to keep cattle out, and although there are no cattle here, but creatures out and that sort of thing, wolves and things like that out, rather than anything, rather than people.
It seems that the most important thing to them is the garrison, and then the second most important thing are the shots. They obviously don't value people all that much.
It's where the wealth will be. That people will always protect the wealth more than anything else. So what little wealth there is here will be in the garrison, and then the shops, and then the outer town. And you'll probably find that as the town has grown, they've had to extend the palisades as well.
It's almost like the opposite way round, isn't it? That you would have thought that it would have started off with residential area in the middle and then spread out. I don't know a lot about towns or defences or anything like that. It just seems a bit weird to me. Anyway, let's find some cheese.
Okay, so the Copper Kettle Inn doesn't actually have a copper kettle outside. It seems to have somewhat of a pewter cooking pot rather than anything else. And it's obviously full of soil or something because there's a whole lot of grass growing out of it. And the Copper Kettle Inn is there's lots of people in it. And it seems to be almost like a mixture, not as rowdy as the Golden Eagle one, but not as posh and calm as the Shiny Hearth Inn. There's quite a lot of talking. There's a bard strumming a lute in the corner. There's a huge raging fire. And there's various barmaids walking around the place, putting in what appears to be pewter taverns, tankards down, that seem to be filled with some light coloured, might be ale, might be cider, you're not too sure. But it just seems to be this, and they're sort of like plunking it down. And there's tables and stools round, and everybody else sort of like congregating around together as they're sort of like, obviously enjoying the evening.
Okay. So we'll probably make our way over to the bar area.
Yeah. There's a bar, and there's the barmaids are coming up and back and forwards on this, and there seems to be a rather tall, skinny man, very gaunt looking, with like straggly blonde hair, and he's obviously the proprietor because he has the telltale apron on, and that you think in earlier days have probably been white, but now is some kind of a grey colour. And he sort of like sees you come into the bar and into the tavern and walking up, and he sort of like comes over and meets you and says, "And strangers, I think, strangers to Advent."
Well, only strangers because you don't know our name. My name's Gulliver. Who are you?
He says, "My name's Bert, and I own this Copper Kettle Inn. What could I do for you? Is it food or water or ale that you require?"
We actually seek lodgings.
Oh,
And food.
I'm sorry to say we have no lodgings available. Even our shared dormitory and our common room are full to capacity. I cannot offer you any lodgings at all. I can offer you food and water, or ale if you wish. I'm sure you will be able to find a place in the tavern somewhere to sit down and enjoy some of our really good beef stew.
Do you
It's
have
not easy why so many people are
stable?
here.
Everybody talked at the same time then. And now nobody will talk.
Medivac, you go first.
Do you have perhaps stables or just maybe just sleep on a bench?
He says,
here?
do you have horses?
No, I was thinking to bed down for the night. You have no room, so I was thinking maybe we could take a stable to.
No, there'd be no stables here, apart from in the garrison. And like I said before, the common room floor is booked for the night.
I mean, we'll certainly take your offer, up your offer on hospitality, but could you suggest somewhere else for us to stay? We've seen a couple of the inns, and to be honest with you, the Eagle one that was just in through the main gate, that was far too noisy.
Far too noisy normally means it might be empty. As for the Shiny Hearth, it has rather, shall we say, higher class rooms on sale there. If you can afford it, then by all means, the Shining Hearth will be a very pleasant place. I'm even told you can get a bath there for some unknown reason. My mother, bless her soul, always used to say, every time you scrub in a tub, you take 5 years off your life.
I can see you're full of that principle strongly, my friend.
Yeah, and he sort of like looks over to you and sort of like says, friend, why do you cover up your face? Are you wanted? I want no criminals in here, mind you. No criminals at all.
I'm not a criminal. I'm just the way of my people. I shall just uncover now.
No, cover back up! Cover back up!
Look at my black hand.
Yeah, probably uncovering your face is probably a more friendly gesture. Yeah, so he sort of like says to you, well, there'll be the Golden Eagle Inn, rather noisy, or the Shining Hearth.
Oh. Well, thank you very much. But tell me, apart from beef stew, do you have anything else on your platters? Do you have cheese by any chance?
No, you need to go to Silder for cheese. We hardly ever we don't even make butter here. It's just, bare fat. Once it's worn down a bit, then...
Just out of interest, where do you get your beef from? I seem to see a lack of cattle when
He says,
came to this town.
Will you be a tavern inspector?
No, I'm just
We get our beef from our beef is the finest beef around, I tell you. If you don't want to eat our beef, then there are other places for you to visit.
Certainly. It sounds like an interesting proposition to go elsewhere. Thank you.
Okay, so
we're going to look for a suitable bench that we can all get onto with a table. And
yeah, he seems quite put off by Hazra's comment, almost like quizzing him about where his beef's come from. And you sort of like sit down in a line on a bench, and what would you like to do while you're sat in a line
we'll
on a
wait
bench?
for a serving woman to come over, and we shall order
4 beef stews.
Stew. Gulliver will order some water to have with it.
Okay.
I'll have a broth, but just water, and I'll nudge my elbow at Angus and say, have you noticed the sad lack of dogs in this area?
So the meal costs you 3 silver pieces each, and the ale or beer or water comes as a flat silver piece as well. So if you're having beef stew and beer, ale or water, then the total price will be 4 silver pieces.
Ale over here.
Yeah.
Angus will probably go for an ale as well because it's nice and warm in this cold day.
I'll be going for an ale since it's 1 silver piece for water.
Gulliver will have water.
Yeah.
Is the bard that's in the corner? Is he? What is he?
He seems to be strumming some sort of tune. If tune would be the right word. Does anybody have any musical skills at all?
I do indeed. I am extremely skilled in the art of flute playing.
Excellent. Well, roll your flute playing.
As Hengist will vouch for on the ship.
It's
the
amazing.
series.
It's very, very good. Got us through many a lonely night.
Yeah, you notice that
Good.
you don't actually think the bard is all that talented. He's plucking some disjoined chords now and again, and he doesn't seem to be singing at all or telling stories or anything like that. He's almost as if he's a bit bored, and he's just like going bling, bing, bing, bling, bing, bing, bling, and nobody's paying a blind bit of attention to him, you know. And you notice that his pewter tankard is down on the floor next to him. He sat over by the fire.
Bartleby is incredibly jealous and shoots bitter looks at that bard every once in a while.
Yeah, it's the way his fingers just ripple over the strings.
Gulliver's going to wait until the serving woman brings back the ales and the stews and the broth, and as she finishes putting them down, he's going to say, "Excuse me, miss, could we have another tankard of ale, please?"
Yeah, she goes off and she sort of like hands out your beef stew to everybody who's ordered it, and ale and water. Yeah, and she brings enough one over and just charges you another silver piece for it.
Okay, so once Gulliver's got that, he's going to pick it up and he's going to head over to the.
Just so you know, you figure it's about 10 o'clock at night now. It's quite dark outside, and there doesn't appear to be lanterns lit. The only light that's falling onto the various paths outside are from either the inns indoors when they open, or maybe fires flickering in upstairs windows, or lanterns in upstairs windows. Yeah. So yeah, about 10 o'clock at night now. Yes, sorry.
So Gulliver's going to pick up the tankard of ale, and he's going to head across the tap room to where the bard is there, plucking away at his lute. And as he gets closer, he's going to say, "Good evening. I wonder whether or not you would like to exchange a tankard of ale for a tune or a story."
Yeah, he says, yes, by all means, and he sort of like takes the ale off you and pops it down on the floor next to the other one that is about half empty. So he's like got one and a half, and he sort of like fiddles with his lute for a while.
As he's doing that, Gulliver's going to say, "I would really like to hear the tale of the tower."
He says, "Sorry, young man, I'm a singer." And he goes, bling.
Is it a song?
And he says, "Away in the meadows stands a beautiful young lady who walks through the grass to find places shady. She walks and she walks and enjoys the air, and suddenly realize her love is dead, and that's not fair." And he carries on strumming away and singing his song.
Gulliver just sort of like looks at him for a few minutes as he sort of like sings, and then sort of like
So the general story of the song is that this girl's out in the field by herself, and she's wandering along because she's missing her her boyfriend, her partner, and she eventually goes off to find him because he hasn't returned home, and she finds him impaled on two goat's horns, as the goat has sort of like impaled him, and she just says, and the story goes on, it says, and so she wept and cried all day and went straight home. What more can I say?
When he's finished,
And somebody
Gulliver's
goes,
clap.
yeah, somebody goes,
Yeah. Gulliver's going to clap as well.
yeah.
And then he's going to say, going to turn to Hengist and says,
So you wander back to your bench, yeah.
yeah. He's going to say, well, at least it wasn't a waste of a silver piece like yours was.
The ale cost a silver piece, though.
I know, but we got a really good song out of it.
I've seen better bards.
Yeah, so it's probably a ballad that he actually did for it. Yeah, so that takes about another half hour, so it's about 10:30 now. What did you wish to do?
We need to find lodgings.
Yeah, we do.
We do.
So we've got the Golden Eagle or the Shining Half.
Well, I don't know about you, but we should probably try the Golden Eagle, because I doubt that we'd be able to afford the prices at the Shining Half.
I agree. I think we should go for the main entrance, because that was where most people come if they're travelling into this town. So, yes.
Okay, I hope they got comfy beds, and I hope that we don't have to share in a common dorm.
Are you going to the Golden Eagle, yeah?
I just hope they have beds.
Yeah, so as you start to approach the Golden Eagle, it seems that a lot of people are leaving. And as you get to the door, there's rather a buxom beauty there that sort of like turns around to you and says, as you approach, she says, "Oh, sorry, fair travellers, we have no room for the night, and we don't have a stable either."
Why the all of the fluctuations and sorry guys, it's so late at night. Why are there so many travelers in this town, miss?
Flucka what?
Why is every inn we go to filled to the brim with travelers and
Well, it'd be market day tomorrow.
market day?
Yeah, most of the rooms are filled up with people who have travelled to Advent to share their wares in the marketplace.
Gulliver's just there staring at her bosom.
Hengist is gonna sort of like give him a sharp nudge to the side.
You could try the Shining Hearth, or the Copper Kettle.
We tried the copper kettle, lady.
But don't tell
Yeah,
her-
I think
don't tell her
most
that
people
she's
have tried the
cold.
Copper Kettle. Did you know that they actually use bear meat and call it beef down there? We have proper meat in our pub. Wouldn't eat there, not after they found that maggot in the rotting meat the other day.
I'm barely surprised, lady. But we need to go find lodging. It's late.
Yeah, try the Shining Hearth or the Copper Kettle. Yeah.
Well,
Turn their best.
Let us go for the
Half.
Shining Hearth.
Shining Hearth, but
Shining Heart.
at least it's market day, so there should be plenty of people around with news.
It's a good job none of us is pregnant.
Yeah, and you sort of like head off to the Shining Hearth, and unfortunately, once you get there, yet again, there seems to be the inn sort of like seems to be fully booked, and it's getting near to 11 o'clock now at night, and you suddenly wonder whether or not you should have booked into rooms straight away. And instead of supporting the urchins, and you sort of like walk away, and you just stood by the well and contemplating what it would be like to sleep on the streets tonight, when one of the barmaids from the Shining Hearth, who's a lot more respectable, you can't see so much cleavage, comes out to you, and she sort of like says, "Have you tried the wild wyvern?"
We're new to Advent.
Oh, well, in which case, it's run by a person called Mr. Piggins. He's a nice sort of person. You might go there for a drink and a song or a fight, but certainly not to stay. But, you know, you may have no other choice at the moment.
Could you give us directions to?
Yeah, it's number 6 on your map.
And that's the Wyvern.
The Wild Wyvern Tavern.
Wild Wyvern.
Thanks, Miss.
Oh, my pleasure. Have a fun time.
As we walk off and we start heading there, Gulliver's going to say to Bartleby, what's a wyvern?
Can I roll my lore monsters to see if I know what a wyvern is?
Yes, by all means.
Pow! I have no idea, Gulliver. I am going to pass out any moment. It's probably goblin in shape, with big meaty arms, that digs tunnels and throws boulders.
As you turn round the street heading to the Wild Wyvern, you almost like see what it might be, Gully, because there's what looks like a dragon hanging over the doorway, and as you get close, you can hear the rowdiness in the inn. And as you get somewhat a little bit closer, all of a sudden this guy comes flying out of the doorway. The doorway bursts open. He just goes and fly out, so like lands face down in the mud, and there's an audible crack as you think he might have smashed his nose or something. And he sort of like staggers up, and you can see there's blood on his face. And he sort of like looks around you and says, "I didn't want the room in any case." And he sort of like makes a gesture with his hand, and he sort of like staggers off. And
Gulliver turns around to everybody and goes, "They've got rooms."
Yeah, and as you get even closer, you notice that just as you're going in, there seems to be some more of these urchins round the door. And they're not the same urchins that Hengus gave money to earlier on. It's just a case that they just seem to be there, and they're sort of like wet and damp, and they go, "Silver coin for help me feed my aged grandmother." And you walk into the Wild Wyvern. Okay, so inside it's somewhat dodgy. Can you all make, please, perception rolls, so I know which what information? What does anybody?
We're sleepy.
Angus does his usual, can't see past his own nose.
Yeah, so Hessaret,
I see everything.
You see this, and as you walk in, it's quite packed full. I'll show you the map in a second. It's really sort of like packed full, and there's about, you would think about 15 of them, 15 drinkers still left in the bar, and it sort of like seems to be you can smell the inn. You can smell spilled beer and wood smoke and sweat and urine, and it just sort of like hits you there is a fire in the hearth, and there seems to be, over at one side, there seems to be 2 people arm wrestling. And over in one corner, there also seems to be what appears to be a curtain that is pulled across. I'll show you the full room in a second. But Hessaret, just as you go in, you definitely see a rat scurrying past the far wall, and is this sort of like scuppers underneath a table somewhere. Let me just check that I've got everything on. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to move you onto the map. Tell me, what can you see?
I can see a couple of tables, a bar, and a few barrels on the top right.
There's no green soup.
Can you see 3 doors? 4 doors?
4 doors.
These
Yeah.
doors here, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't see what's inside them, yeah?
No.
No.
Cool, that is perfect then. I'm just bringing your characters on. I'll shrink you in a minute. Oh,
Hazard doesn't need
mini-me.
shrinking.
I keep... Hasbro's...
Hazard's twin.
I think I'm a clone now.
This moving you... Let's move...
Well, so while you do that, Hazra will whisper to the group and say, "This place is not the cleanest place I've slept in before. There are rats running rampant here, and there's something foul going on."
Right, so just as you get in, just so you know, the arm wrestling table is this northern one here, and this here is the curtain. Okay, and stood outside the curtain appears to be what you could probably only describe him as being somewhat of a wildman, if that makes sense. He's quite sort of like armoured, and he's got long scraggly hair. And he looks somewhat... I'm just going to use Aaron's thing. And he sort of like stood there. And it definitely looks like he's on guard. And the other person that you notice... So there are other people in here apart from your tokens, but I'm just putting the main people on. Stood over here... propping up the bar, the wall next to the hearth, so you can see the hearth. Just this is the fireplace here. There seems to be what can only be described as a tremendous young man. He's big, he's built. I mean, he looks like he's got muscles on muscles, and he sort of like has his arms folded, and he has brown eyes, he has long brown hair, and almost like a ruddy face, and he seems to be scowling a lot. He looks he's dressed, doesn't have armor on or anything like that, and as you sort of like walk in, he does sort of like follow you as you walk into the bar, into the tavern. Yeah, so what would you like to do?
I don't have control of my token yet.
Oh, sorry.
Or not.
Bartleby makes a beeline for the counter, looking for a Mr. Piggins in this establishment.
Yeah, let me just... I can't find Gully.
Haj will stick it to Bartleby's right-hand side.
Appreciate you making sure I don't get flanked.
Angus will stand next to Gulliver and whisper to him and say, try not to make eye contact with those guys.
Gulliver will look around. Sorry, which guys?
Yeah, this table here seems to be empty as well. Yes, Bartleby, can you move your character?
I can.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and yeah, there seems to be a Mr. Piggins at the bar. He sort of like seems to be pouring ale into pewter tankards, and there's various food being handed out left, right, and centre.
Piggins, Mr. Piggins, is that
Piggins,
you are.
Piggins, the name, pride, owner of this tavern, I be.
Great. We're looking for 4 rooms.
Yeah, I've got 2. You can double up. There's always rooms at the Wild Wyvern.
Sure.
It's
sure.
because we're
What's the
so
price?
good. It's because we're so good. Now, he says, double room. He says, for you, because I like your smile. He says, I will give you the room for the night for 2 silver pieces.
Put 2 silver pieces on the table and impatiently wait for him to point me in the direction.
And he says, each.
I'll put 8 coins on the table then.
And he sort of like goes, whoa. He says, yeah, by all means. He said, take a seat and I'll get one of my barmaids to prepare the room for guests.
Thanks, Piggins.
Yeah, we had a slight accident in there, and we've been trying not to use it, but don't worry, it'll be fine for you guys. And he sort of like gestures. He says, would you like food and ale?
We've already ate. We just need sleeping.
I actually thought that was included in the price, perhaps.
Did I give a price for food and ale?
No, for the rooms, for room and lodgings, and
No, rooms separate to food and drink. My old grandma always said, never mix business with pleasure.
She
Is your
sounds very.
food that good?
She was a wise old woman, my grandma.
Bartleby, falling asleep on the counter now, says, scrub in the tub, it takes 5 years off your life.
Sounds like he would have got on. She would have got on well with Master Healy. He always had good things to say. I hope these rooms aren't going to take too long.
He sort of like gestures again and says, do go and sit down.
Yes, I will gently urge Bartleby to the empty table.
Yeah, you can pick up a bar stool so you can all sort of like sit round the table together and await the preparation of your
Which is
room.
the empty one? This one?
Yeah.
In between the guy in
The wild man.
The wild man and the one with funny eyes.
Yeah.
I'll go slump near the guy with
Really,
curious eyes.
just to let you know, your tokens are probably a little bit too big for the scale.
Right.
That's fair.
Yeah, just to sort of like let you know, but I didn't want to make them so small, that you can see. Yeah, so you huddle around the table and you notice that one of the barmaids sort of like heads off down through this door. She seems to be carrying what appears to be a whole load of some kind of linen cloth or something. And as you're sat there, a rather thin, middle-aged man walks in. He's very regal almost, and carefree. His outfit is quite. I want to say noble. And he sort of like looks around. And he sort of like goes up to the big guy and sort of like claps him on the shoulder, and they exchange a few quiet words. And then this newcomer suddenly sees you there, and he sort of like looks around, and he sort of like, you notice this smile spread across his face, and he comes up to you, and he doffs his hat and does a flurry and some kind of bard and bow and goes, "Welcome to Advent, my kind friends. I have not seen you here before. My name is Zarand. May I join you on this lovely evening?"
What was your name again? Was it Sir And or Sir
Zarand.
Zerand.
Yes.
We're just waiting for our rooms.
Yeah, and he sort of like pulls up a a stool and sort of like sits down and he says, "In which case I will wait with you."
This is very considerate of you.
"Thank you." And he says, "So," he says, "you know my name. And what will be your names?"
Hello, friends around. My name is Hazra.
"Hazra." Lovely name, Hazra. Sort of like rolls off the tongue like sticky toffee.
It does after a while, yes. So, why is this? You get the market tomorrow, I hear.
"Yes, pray tell. I am so rude. I did not introduce myself to everybody. My name is Zarand, and you people are?" And he sort of like looks at the other ones.
My name is Hengist.
"Hengist, I see. Fine, beefy guy, I see. Clad out in your armour. And you two will be
I'm Bartholomew.
Bartholomew.
Yeah, you can call me Barney.
Barney, I'll call you Barney, friend." And he sort of like whacks you on the back in a friendly gesture. "And the final person of your party would be whom?"
I'm Fantastic Fumus, best musician in the wild lands. My fingers so deft they can fly like smoke.
He sort of like looks at your fingers and says, "You will need to strum for us later on tonight." He says, "My name is Durand. I am a merchant here. As your friend, Hazra, guest already. Yes, I am here. I'm in here to do acquisitions or fulfillment, to buy and sell. And you guys are here for?"
Just pleasure.
"No, for pleasure. Oh,
Little bit of pleasure, and maybe we can pick up a bargain tomorrow at the market. We heard
Well-
the best in town.
it's certainly it's not only the best, it's the only market in town. I have lived here all my life. I am an Adventine. I live here all my life." He says, "You wouldn't be looking for work, would you? You seem," and he sort of like looks round you, and his eyes sort of like pause on Gulliver and Bartleby, and then he says quickly, "I can always use more quick hands or strong backs. Would you be interested in a small job?"
Bartleby's face down right now. He's been slinking into sleep since I'm assuming we're past midnight at this point.
Yeah, it's very close.
Pray tell, my friends around, what does this job entail?
And he suddenly, it's almost like looks over to the curtained sort of like gap at the door, and he noticed that the large wildman who stood there sort of like sees Zarand and sort of like goes like that, and Zarand sort of like stands up and he says, "Stay a while. It's good to hear that you have lodgings here. I have a meeting now, but I'll come back to you later and we discuss terms, and you can be you can journey with my caravan, and we can go to many places. Meanwhile," and he shouts over, "Piggins! Ale's on this table! Put it on my tab!" And he sort of like jumps nicely and deftly up and throws some silver on the table and disappears off behind the curtain by the bar.
My time with you gentlemen seems to be full of strange little men who pop up randomly.
I don't think we can really take another job because we've already got one job.
But if it provides travel and cover, because our job is somewhat of a secret, it might be an idea.
Yes, we really need to find out where our next pot of call will be, or what we need to be looking for.
We need to find out what's happened to the tower and Matilda. and whether or not she's dead, and what happened to all the all the things within the tower.
Wasn't that supposed to be a Kraken place here at Advent? Or was that another town or city near here?
No, I think it was. I think it was in the
Was it
in
Silda?
Matilda's tower was the portal.
Ah, I thought there was another one in this region that we could have travelled to.
Well, maybe in the town up to the north. What was it called, Bartleby? Was it called Sybil or something?
Bartleby waking up. Then Silder until we get
Silder.
there, then it's Sildar.
There might be one there, but I can't see that there's going to be one closer.
Don't you find it strange? This town, village, city doesn't have any orders or links to any orders, or they seem to hold you in kind of reverence because you're Order of the Kraken, your magic. I would have thought your orders would be spread out throughout this. I don't know. I mean, I've travelled far and wide, and I've seen things that it's just very strange. Is this town has nothing?
I'm
Seems
not
like a
going
town
to.
under siege.
I'm not going to lie, Hazra, but I've only been on the continent for 6 months. You've been here all your life. I think you should probably know how the orders are spread out. I mean, there was. I mean, Matilda was part of the order, and she had a teleporter, so they must have some type of communication here. But I would have thought it would go to where the most people were and where the order needed to be.
And perhaps maybe the most important people in the city would have these or have knowledge of these things.
Bartleby, all of a sudden you were just quietly dozing off again when from behind the curtain there's an almighty crash of falling furniture and things whacking on the floor like plates or pieces of metal, and they hit it, and all of a sudden the curtain, it doesn't open, it almost is like flung back, and this rather slim looking lady with very well presented outfit and blonde hair almost like comes shooting out. She vaults over the stool where you can see there, and she moves with so much grace and she's so well coordinated. She actually manages not to bash into anybody and heads straight for the door. Can you roll, please? I'll just put the combat tracker up for you. Wait, don't do anything yet because I've got to change the numbers. I'll just get rid of you, don't worry. And yeah, would you like to roll some initiatives for me, please?
Yeah, big 16.
Big 15 from Hengist.
Okay, that looks good. Okay, and before you all burst into action, we'll have a quick 10-minute break because it's been an hour and a half, and we'll see what happens when you once we come back. So if you are watching the stream, thank you very much, Easy Prey, for your 100 bitties that you just donated. Much appreciated. Really appreciate that. I'm just checking that it was 100 because otherwise it'll sound awful. Yes, thank you very much for those 100 bits. Vohayo, hi to you as well. Okay guys, so we're going to take a 10-minute break. We'll be back in 10, so go off and have a run, stretch your leg, grab some food, and we'll be back pretty soon. See you soon.
the games. What are you on about?
They're all watching Big Beastie's wrestling, man. It's like Shirley Crabtree all over again, I tell you. Oh, you won't know who Shirley...
I remember Shirley Crabtree.
Put your hand up if you know who Shirley Crabtree is.
I've heard of her.
It's the afternoon.
I've
Big
heard of her.
Daddy!
That counts.
Ever.
I'd just like to
Giant
say
haystacks.
I've seen him wrestling live
No!
at the Barbican Centre.
Really?
Yeah,
Did they pay for you to do it?
yeah.
He's like 60 all the time he was alive, wasn't he?
Yeah. I was going to say he's not 60 now.
No.
Is he dead?
Yeah, if you saw him now, you'd be like,
Okay.
There always used to be Big Daddy and Giant
Giant
Haystack.
haystacks. Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. He's
Okay.
as
So,
was.
we are going straight into combat rounds. So this live lady has just sort of like barged through the inn and is sort of like headed out through the door, and it's almost like all the patrons have stopped, you know, because there was all this noise from behind the curtain as well. Right, Hessaret, you're up first on the 20. What would you like to do?
Muted.
Unmuted. I'm going to unmute. I'm going to delay my action for the moment just to see and gauge what is happening, having seen this woman come out of the curtain room and fly across and just, see what's going to happen.
Right, so you're just sat there ready to parry or defend if need be.
Yep, if need
Yeah.
be.
Okay, and Bartleby, you're up next.
Bartleby, having snapped awake with the noise, is going to kind of scramble with his hands to try and get his club and draw his club and put it on the table, kind of equipping his weapon with that action, I think.
Yeah, so you're readying your weapon. Hengist, you're up next.
I think this is going to dither.
Okay, you did that. Gulliver, you're up next.
Did Gulliver, as this woman burst out of the curtain and headed across the bar to go out, did she have anything in her hands that Gulliver saw?
Make a hard perception check. No, she didn't seem to have anything in her hands at all. She just seemed to dash out of the room. And like I say, she didn't even pull back the curtain at all. Okay, is there anything you want to do with your action?
Gulliver's going to he's going to get up off his bastard and sort of like peek round the curtain.
Okay, yeah, so inside the curtain, you can see there's the table. I'll reveal it for you so you can actually see what's there. Can you see inside now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there seems to be... So Gulliver's the only one who will see this. There seems to be a table, and it looks like there was a whole load of food and stuff on the table. And there's the guy you were just speaking to, Zarand, is sort of like lying down on the floor. He's sort of like here. I'll just sort of like draw him on like that. Can you see that? Yeah, he probably was once sat on that stool, but he's now on the floor. And there seems to be another guy over him at this precise moment in time. Okay, so that's your action sorted then. You all of you then see the guy who was at the hearth. He now moves out and almost like goes running off after the woman, or roughly in the same direction of the room. You see him go around and rush out of the door. This guy now sort of like actually pulls back the curtain in one fair swoop. So Gulliver, you were sort of like peeping around, and also you feel the the curtain pulled out the way, and he seems to have out now some kind of hunting knife, and then that's what he actually does. So
the guy. Do you know I saw a guy on top of
yeah,
Zanat?
knelt by the side of him. Yeah.
Was he dressed similar to this guy, or is his attire completely different?
No, if anything, he was more dressed like Zarand,
Right,
but
okay.
a little bit less flamboyant than Zarand was. And the girl, the woman who dived out, was roughly dressed the same way, but in a female fashion. Okay, so we're combat turn 2. So Hessaret, you up?
And you're still muted.
Hazra's going to get up. He's going to walk over to where Gully is and speak to this chappie here and say, "What just happened? What is this about?"
Okay, yeah. Bartleby, what would you do? What would you like to do?
From my position, am I able to see the body or somebody laying down there, or the guy leaning over the body in there?
Well, generally, if you draw a straight line between your target, your token, and the thing, and it doesn't go through any walls, etc., that's what you would see. So you probably can see there's
His crotch.
there's somebody lying down there. That seems to be on the floor.
Okay, if I see somebody lying down, my Amriel instincts are going to kick in, and I'm going to move to help anybody if they're wounded. Circling around, going Hengist side. I'm going to walk.
Got ya. So you will actually sort of like you'll get further in, but something just needs to happen in a second. But I'll move you once the guy in front of you's had his turn. Hengist, what would you like to do?
So Hengist, seeing Bartleby sort of like jump up and head towards the room, Hengist is going to stand up and follow, keeping close behind Bartleby.
Okay, so you're now following Bartleby. Gulliver, what would you like to do?
Gulliver's going to go into the room through the side of the curtain, and he's going to say in a loud voice, "Hey, get off him!"
Yeah, and the guy looks up, and it doesn't. He says to you, "I think he's dying. I think he's dying. I think he's been poisoned." Like this. Okay, and at that point, and this is Bartleby, when the rest of this guy comes into the room, so you get into the room there, and then Hengist, you'll get to the curtain bit, like so. Yeah, okay then. Let's go to. I'm going to come out of combat because you don't need to be in it anymore now, because the threats have gone. So this is what you can see. So there's another guy who's sort of like bent over this dead body. I'm going to use Briggs's
Dead body.
Or the body over this thing. And he's the one that looks very similar to Zoran that you saw beforehand. Yeah, so you can do. Anybody wants to act now, you can act. You don't need to be rolling initiative.
Does he appear to be injured in any obvious way, such as blood pooling around him or a limb twisted at a strange angle?
He looks... do you have a medicine or a first aid roll?
I believe medicine is my preference here.
Yeah, cool. Roll it.
Or healing, I mean.
Yeah.
Big money. Could I use a point of luck?
Yes, by all means, to make it a 26.
Yes. Swapsies.
Cool. So deduct the point of luck. You sort of like crouch down to the body, and you sort of like check his vitals, for want of a better word, i.e. putting your face close to his mouth to see whether or not there's any breath coming out, and you hold on to his wrist as you've been taught to see whether or not his heart's still beating. And there seems to be no air coming out of his mouth, and his wrist seems to have no pulse. So you actually put your head onto the guy's chest, as you've been taught to do, to try to hear the heartbeat. And there seems to be a very slow sort of like boom, boom, or boom, boom,
I would like to start praying then.
boom, boom.
Praying
then,
for a miracle.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you just hear it go boom.
Gulliver's going to address the person that's over him that's dressed similar, and he's going to say, "Well, what happened? What happened to Zorand?"
And he says, we were having a meeting, and he ate some food, and then that woman, Finiel, she's killed him."
Where was he sat?
And he sort of like points at the table. He was sort of like sat there, and he sort of like talks to this wild man, and sort of like shouts, sort almost like looks up to him, and they obviously know each other. And he says, "Ark, go and see whether or not she's outside." And Ark sort of like makes his way through you guys and heads off out of the tavern.
Why would she poison Zorand? He seemed really nice when we met him. He bought us drinks.
Well, all I can imagine is that there is something amiss here.
What was the man doing here? What were you meeting about? It seems weird that she would just kill him for no reason.
He sort of like looks at you, Bartleby, and says, "Sir, well, are you a healer? Can you help my friend? I don't think he's breathing."
Just as a question to you, Ann Wills, his heartbeats stopped pretty much a couple of seconds before I started praying.
Yeah. And the other thing that you notice is that his lips are a strange colour, and there's sort of like, it looks really, they don't look pink or blue. They look almost like an off brown colour. You notice on the table, Bartleby and Gulliver, that there's appears to be a table that seems to be mushrooms that he was eating. It seems to be some kind of mushrooms in gravy, and he sort of like puts there's bits of bread that it looks like they've been mopping up.
Despite
the same thing on each plate, or different things?
No, the other two plates appear to be empty. It's almost as if you figured that Zoran might have been late, maybe to the meeting or something like that, and everybody else seems to have been
already fed and watered.
Yes, yeah, that's probably a better idea.
Gulliver's going to say, "Can you not help him, Bartleby?"
Despite his heart floundering, the moment I started going for a miracle, I'm going to go all the way through it, even if that means I lose a point in my devotion pool, just in case there's a chance that I can save him. So I'm ignoring everybody and praying.
Yeah, go for it. So are you going to cast your heal body spell? Is that the...
I'm going for this one, actually. Cure Malady.
Yeah, the poison one. Yeah, cool.
Let's see, and it's exhort that I want, not my devotion. Big money.
Yeah, so you actually cast the spell, and you feel the power of Amriel flowing through you and then over Zorand, and you almost like feel that it's searching the bloodstream for any poison to sort of like get rid of. And you do notice that there is some poison in there, and it's just the remnants of it now. And it seems to be he's the guy, Zarand, is definitely dead. He's out for the count. But yeah, you figure he probably was poisoned. Gulliver and Bartleby, could you make me a perception roll, please? In order to do this, you must have formidable. That's the difficulty of it.
That won't happen for me.
Right, so Bartleby, no, neither of you can.
I'm good. I'm going to use point of luck and reroll.
Okay, then go for it. Yeah, okay then. With 23 out of 31, you actually sort of like look over and you sort of like peering round Bartleby, Gulliver, and you suddenly think that the clothes are not right. You remember back to people falling in the street, or when you've seen people fall over, and it almost looks as if the body's being sort of like ruffled or searched or something like that. It doesn't look like it's just sort of like just fallen on the floor.
Thinking back to the starting scenario, when there was a crash, how long was it after the crash that the woman came out from the curtain? Would there have been enough time for her to maybe quickly search the body and get something before rushing out, or
possibly it would have had to be a quick search?
And the actual crash, the noise that we heard, looking at the position of probably an overturned stool, etc., does it sort of like match the sound that we heard?
Yeah, there's the overturned stool, and it also looks like some cutlery and pewter ale tankards have gone on the floor as well. Yeah. Piggins sort of like gets to the door, right, the curtain right next to you, Hengist, and he sort of like says, what's going on here? This will bring rack and ruin to my tavern. I'll never be able to get anybody to come in here once they've seen a dead person or a poisoned person. What am I to do? And the guy sort of like gets up and he comes across to Piggins, and says, take this, Piggins, and organise a room where we can put the body, and then we can have somebody look at it tomorrow. If you do it quietly, nobody else will see it. And Piggins sort of like takes the coin and says, are you sure, Tobias? Do you think this will be all right? And Tobias says, don't worry, we'll make sure it's fine. And Piggins goes off and he shouts that it's time for closing and that everybody has to start to go. And the guy who's now know as Tobias obviously sort of like stands up, and he sort of like mentions to you, and he introduces himself, and he sort of like says, my name's Tobias, and this unfortunate fella on the floor and the rather wild looking man and the woman are, well, shall I say, business partners, would you believe?
If your business partners, why did Finny Hell, is that what you called her, the lady?
Yes.
Why did she run out?
Well, because she has killed one of my business partners.
But you know it was her.
Well, all I know is that we were meeting and the meeting had been called for tonight, and all of a sudden, Zoran started to gag and turn pale, and then actually hit the floor, and Finiel just jumped up and leapt out. I don't know why. All I know is that my old friend lies cold and dead. He sort of like leans closer to you, Bartleby, because you obviously were inspecting him, and said, "You think it might be poison?"
In my regular voice, not whispering at all, I just say, "It was definitely poison."
I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. How could this happen?
Tobias, pray to Amriel for guidance. I'm sure that she will show you the way.
I'm more in favour of the merchant god, but I think something is very wrong here. Very wrong indeed.
We'll find the root cause in the morning, I'm sure.
What reason would the lady have to kill him?
Greed? Anger? Passion? I do not know. All I know is my friend is dead.
Maybe.
And he looks at you and says, "Do you know Karand?"
Zorand?
Yeah. Do you know Zorand? He's the one who's dead.
We only just arrived here in Advent this evening. We were seeking rooms here, and he approached our table and introduced himself, and he was very kind to us, and he offered us work.
Oh, I can see why he offered you work. You look very capable, very capable. Perhaps I can further the contract somewhat. Perhaps I can ask you to do Zorand one last favour. I wonder if you can find Finiel and bring her to justice. He seems to bring out what appears to be a small pouch of silver coins. Make commerce rolls.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No.
You can't. Nobody can roll for toffee tonight. I don't know.
I think there must be something wrong with your place.
You figure there might be anywhere between 50 and 100 silver pieces in this pouch as it sort of like hits onto the desk, onto the table next to the plate with the mushrooms on. He says, I can pay you to find her, but you are right. My friend lies cold on the floor, and maybe tonight is not worth venturing out into the streets. Curse my lack of quickness. I could have been out and maybe have caught her before the door, or even just outside. But alas, no. My strength lies in business transactions and commerce, rather than fleet of foot and great strength.
There was another man in the bar, in the tap room. A tallish looking man stood in the corner.
Loram.
Zoran spoke to him.
Yes, Loram. Loram the Large. He is part of the our business partnership, our team of merchants. Myself, Tobias, and and me, Tobias, and Zorand is or was part of us. and then Finiel and Laram, and of course my faithful right-hand man, Ark, who I've sent off to try to find her.
The other man went after her as well. Maybe he. The large man.
I don't think Laram would be going after Finiel. They are more closer business partners than myself and the dead Zoran ever was. I don't think he went after her. Maybe more followed her. And
Perhaps.
maybe hiding out together now. Somewhere in Advent.
Why do you think they would stay in Advent if they had just committed murder?
Because unless they scale the walls, the palisade, all the gates are closed for the night and guarded. The only way out is either past the guards and they let no one out during the night, or scale the walls or palisade.
Tell me,
So in the
Tobias,
morning. Go ahead.
where did Zavand stay when he was in Advent?
He has
Did he
his
have lodgings?
he has his own house.
And where would we
As
find
do
that?
we all.
Yes.
Do you have rooms for tonight? Tobias says to you.
Mr. Piggins is seen to our accommodation at
Oh no, he says. I insist.
great expense to ourselves.
I insist. You should stay with me. Come to my lodgings and stay at my house, and then we can have a talk about trying to find Finiel tomorrow morning. The gates open at 10 o'clock. But tomorrow, drat, it is market day. They will be open in, and he sort of like looks around and sort of like says, in somewhat 5 hours. Let's go. Let's go to my place and we can talk about this early tomorrow morning. He sort of like...
Won't Finiel try to make her escape as soon as the gates are open?
To where? There is nothing but wilderness around Advent. And if she's killed, maybe she killed for a reason. And we need to find out what that reason is. He sort of like picks up his bag of coins and sort of like gives it to you, Bartleby. You sort of like stood there and all of a sudden he just sort of like puts it in your cupped hands. And he says, consider it the start of a working relationship. And Piggins arrives at the door and says, Master Tobias, the room is ready. The room is ready. And you notice that Ark, the wild man, is there, and Tobias says, come, Ark can carry him up to the rooms up above. Piggins says, oh, kind travellers, your room is ready. I've swept the floor myself. And Tobias says, no, Piggins, they will stay with me tonight. And he sort of like goes, oh, right, fair enough, since he knows that he seems to know Tobias. And Ark comes in and picks up the body. And as you look out into the tavern, it's almost like empty. There's just some barmaids sort of like clearing up and mopping the floor and trying to catch a rat with a broomstick as it, a brush as it scampers around the place. And Ark takes the body upstairs, and then Tobias says, come with me. And he leads you out of the tavern. And outside there's two small groups of urchins. And sort of like, silver coins on this cold, dank night. And Tobias just sort of like shouts, go away! And carries on walking. And he says, come this way, please. And he takes you to what appears to be like almost like a merchant's shop downstairs. He seems to be, as you walk through it to the back stairs, it's almost as if it's selling quite high-end stuff. Just make a commerce roll again, both, yeah.
Oh, this time I know.
Yeah, they look very expensive, Gulliver, and you don't think it's not things that would be actually created here in Advent. You don't think it's quite fine cloth and stitches, so you figure it'll probably been made in a big city somewhere. And you can see that there's a whole load of stuff sort of like piled up on tables, and it's obviously in preparation of the market the next day. And he sort of like takes you upstairs, and he's got 2 spare rooms, both with 2 what appears to be bunk beds, and he has almost like a housemaid, housekeeper, who sort of like shows you up and shows you into the rooms. Okay, what would you like to do?
Bunking with who?
Just crash asleep is what Bartleby is going to do. He's ready to sleep. Slams into a bunk bed without even knowing who's going to sleep in that room.
Yeah, so Bartleby hops into bed.
Hazard will follow suit, but next to Bartleby, just to keep him safe.
Okay. Hengist will go into the other room and drop his backpack at the end of the bed and start taking off his armor. And then halfway through, he goes, "Gulliver, can you get this strap? I can't quite reach it."
Gulliver's going to go into the room and say, "Hengist, well, I noticed something when I was in the tap room where Zarand was. It looked like almost somebody had searched him."
So the lady killed, poisoned. Did she have a chance? Would she have a chance to rifle him, or would perhaps our gracious host was involved as well? Because we found.
But I was thinking what they might have been looking for. And the only thing that I could come up with would have been Zarand's house key. Maybe
house keys, warehouse keys. I doubt it would have been his coin purse, because it would have to be something more substantial or higher, greater value than a purse of silver.
Or maybe they were just after his goods.
Could
it looked like Tobias has some pretty expensive items for market. And if market day's tomorrow, that would mean that Zarand would have probably had all his stock here as well. And what better way to make a better profit than killing the merchants and using
a better profit? But what about the risk to their reputation? Surely murder would get them caught by the town militia.
So you settle down for the night in your rooms, and as sleep sort of like the tide of sleep sort of like rolls up and covers you, so you start to sleep and dream. Just before you do that, can you all make for me a formidable perception check?
I got excited then. I clicked it and I just saw a whole load of ticks. Not me.
So everyone apart from Hengist. Hengist, do you want to use any luck to re-roll it?
No.
Okay. The rest of you are not completely sure, but you do hear the outside door open and close itself again, as if somebody was leaving the house. and you were sort of like drifting in sleep when it happened, and you just sort of like, and you suddenly, oh, what was that? And then you hear the door close, and you think, oh, there's somebody going out, and you head off to sleep. And so the next morning, you are woken up quite early. As a matter of fact, it's about 4:30 in the morning. The sun isn't even up yet, but the sky is that dusky colour as it's about to rise. Could you all make for me, please, an endurance check?
Yes, I made a roll.
So Bartleby, you're all right. Gulliver, do you wish to use a point of luck? Hazra, you're all right.
When I wake up, have we had any rest to regain any magic points?
Yeah, well, this is what the endurance roll is for, to see whether or not you're fatigued, because you didn't actually get to bed to gone midnight, and then you're up at 4:30, so you've literally had 4.5 hours sleep, which is not enough. So that's almost like half the night. So you normally would have an 8-hour rest. So you can, if you work out the difference between where your magic points are now and where they should have been out of after an 8-hour, and then get half of that back. So say, for example, you were at 6 now, and
Well, let's do me. My maximum's 15.
yeah,
I'm at 1.
1. So between 1 and 15 is 14. So that's how much you were getting an 8-hour rest. So because you've only had a 4-hour rest, then you don't get 14 back, you get 7 back.
Right. Okay, I'll use a point of luck to swap my rolls.
Okay then, and in which case you don't have to put your you don't have to take 1 level of fatigue at that point.
So I get 7 magic points back.
Yeah.
In my total 8.
Have you lost any, Bartleby, that you want to regain?
Yes, I was at 12 out of 14. I presume I can't, just because I probably wasn't out doing anything with the moonlight. I can't do
No,
any.
you can't do your devotional pool, but you'll get 12 to 14, so that's 2, so you'll get 1 of them back, you'll be at 13. And
Excellent.
you're sort of like, I've put like a purple cross on the room that the abode where Tobias lives, and you sort of like come down and you sort of like follow the smell of what appears to be freshly baked bread and bacon and or some kind of meat, and you go down, and the housekeeper has set out what appears to be a pile of bread and greasy some kind of meat, and there's various things of ale and cider, and there's even some quite nice looking wine if you want it, and she's quite happy to serve you out or for you to help yourself. And you quite naturally you sort of say, where's Tobias? Where is he? And she sort of like says, oh, that he was up half an hour ago. He's setting up the stall and the shop in preparation for today. And as if talk of the devil, so to speak, Tobias comes in. He's totally changed from last night. He's in even more splendid attire, and it looks so fine and so almost like regal. And he sort of like comes in and he sort of like picks up one of the bread buns and sort of like breaks it over and whacks a bit of meat in it and closes it up and starts to eat it, and sort of like says, so you need to find Finiel today, yes?
Correct.
Yeah, and when you get her, bring her here and we can sort this out. I'm not keen to have any, let's not involve the militia, if you get my meaning.
Has she got a shop nearby that we could start?
Finiel,
Yes.
she's not a merchant. She just helps buying and selling. She just does what I tell her to do. She's more of a, what can I say, bodyguard.
What about a house or an apartment somewhere where she lives?
I don't. We always meet at the Wild Wyvern. I've never been to her house. I guess you must have one somewhere around here.
Indeed.
It's probably, if we can track that place down, it's probably a good place to start. It will give us a hint to.
I would definitely start with the out in the outer circle. She probably has one of those poor lodgings out there somewhere.
Where does Zorand live?
Zoran, yeah, he lives 4 doors down from us. So you can see on the map, he would be living there.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Tobias.
Okay.
Yeah, I suppose Zoran's house is a good place to start, and if we can find any clues to where Finiel might be.
It seems a good idea, but I want Finiel found. Yeah? You understand that? And
Yes.
I'll double the coinage if you bring her back alive.
Gotcha.
Gulliver will say to Bartleby, how much is in the coin purse?
I don't remember getting a coin purse.
Oh, he definitely...
No, he did. He gave it to you.
You're not.
he's hiding it.
I'll have to check my luggage. To be honest, all I remember was crashing noises and thugs.
There's
do
a
remember
sudden,
that might have been a
there's
dodgy
a sudden bolt from the sky.
You do remember what god you follow, don't you, Bartleby?
Gulliver.
Goddess.
Amria will always provide illumination. Let me pray to her, and then I will see if I can remember where this sack of coins might be. Bartleby just kind of looks up and closes his eyes.
Cool. Okay, so you finish your breakfast, etc., and then you head out. It's probably about 5-6 o'clock, you know, in the morning when you actually open the doors and step out. And you do notice, especially since you're so close to the marketplace, that there's already a hustle and bustle happening and people are going left, right and centre. Most of them seem to be rushing with parcels or goods, baskets of stuff, and they're sort of like rushing in, and you can see that people are not buying at the moment. They're definitely setting things up, ready for the sale, which anybody with a commerce role knows that markets of this nature normally sort of like open about 8 o'clock, you know, ish, sometime between 8 and 9, and it's actually seen as not very good if you try to buy anything before the market is officially open, you know, although some shady merchants would actually allow that to happen, you know. Yeah, so what would you like to do, guys?
Gulliver's going to say to the others, I've got an idea. I'll meet up with you guys in a bit. I've just got to run an errand.
Sounds good, Gulliver. Just make it as quick as you can, I suppose. Oh, some coins. I'll count some coins while you're off doing your errand.
Should you be going alone, Gulliver?
It's market day. I'm sure I'll be absolutely fine.
Okay, so we'll split up the party then. So the Bartleby, Hengist and Hessaret, what are your plans?
Well, Hessaret is going to stay by Bartleby.
I say we count these coins and then go to Zoran's house, and then Gulliver, you could probably meet us at Zoran's house once you're done with your errand.
Okay, Bartleby, it shouldn't take me long.
I believe in you.
Okay, yeah, there's 50 silver pieces in the bag, and Hengist and Hessaret and Bartleby head off to Zoran's house. As I said before, it's just sort of like at the end of the row. You notice that unlike the other houses along the street, the other houses seem to be opened up and sort of like preparing for business. Zoran's house is still shut. All the shutters are shut, and the door quite naturally is closed as well. Just to let you know, the militia are out and about in the bustle. They seem to be walking around in partners with their long spears. They seem to be completely disinterested in the market, probably thinking it's just going to be a whole load of trouble for them and nothing else. You can also see that there's various urchins starting to jostle their way to prime positions for begging as you go down to the house. Yeah, so you all three of you are now stood outside Zoran's house.
And the door is locked, you said?
Do you want to, it's shut at the moment.
I would like to give a test run with that doorknob.
Yeah,
or handle.
It's definitely locked. You can see the keyhole there. It just looks like a basic tumbler lock, but it's definitely shut.
Did you say that the windows were shuttered or not?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it looks as if you've shut up for the night, and currently not up.
The night's just going on.
Turn to the rest of my cohorts and say, I'm afraid I don't know how to get into a locked home, nor if there will be any clues or ideas that'll form if we were even able to get in there.
The only way I can think of is to break the door down, but the town militia will not.
Something I would not
Not
recommend.
be something to be a good thing to be doing.
Is there another entrance?
There seems to be the only entrances are the main door and the windows. Unfortunately, fire regulations haven't hit Advent yet, so everything
No
is
fire
just.
escape.
There's no fire escape, no back door. Just one door suits all. As you but all sort of like stood there, all three of you sort of like stood there looking at the house. Two women come by carrying what seems to be bundles of material wrapped around in that sort of like semi rectangular cuboid style, and quite nice cloth, you think, Bartleby. And as they go down, they sort of like look at you, sort of like all stood round, and Bartleby up by the door, and one of them shouts, "Dearie, he's not in! He's not in! I know he's not in." And the other one goes, "Yeah, he's dead. He's dead. Apparently, last night in the inn there was a massive fight and he got a chair stuck through his heart." And the other woman turns around and says, "Very sad, very sad. You would never think you would die with a chair leg through your heart, wouldn't you?" And they just sort of like toddle off talking to each other.
Wow, that's one way to go, with a chair leg through your heart.
It sounds very gory, blood-soaked.
Okay, let's jump over to Gulliver. What are you planning to do by yourself?
Okay, so Gulliver's heading around the through the streets back towards where the Wyvern pub was, the Wild Wyvern pub. He's going to try to keep an eye open for the street urchins that we saw outside, or even when he gets up there, see whether or not they're still hanging about in the area.
Right. Okay then. So make a perception check, but it's going to be formidable because all street urchins sort of like look the same, and you didn't get a good look as you came out of the Wyvern tavern last night. So there seem to be some there that look the same, i.e. they seem to be children. So you walk up to Zoran's house with everybody else, and then Bartleby and Hengist and Hessaret, you wait at the door and do what you normally do. And then Gulliver goes past the well and over to the Wyvern, which seems to be open already.
Okay, so he wants to go up to the group of urchins that he thinks may have or may not have been there. And he wants to say, I need to find somebody in Advent.
And they say, silver pieces, we'll find anybody for silver pieces. And they'd sort of like hold out their hands to you.
There will be silver, but only once the person's been found.
No, we don't do it business like that, mister. That's a con, that. Don't try to con urchins. Give us the money and we'll go looking for them.
Well, there would have been 2 silver pieces in it for you if you had found them and took me to the person. But it's okay. I'll go and find somebody else who will do it.
Okay, yeah. So you turn around from them, and you can hear them muttering behind you, talking about waste of time, a time waster, etc., etc. So you can go back and meet the other 3 outside Zoran's house.
Okay.
So yeah, so all 4 of you are now stood outside Zoran's house. So the marketplace has started to pick up now. There's more people coming and going. There's more urchins sat around or walking down the street. And at times you almost like think they're almost like picking pockets or something like that. And yeah, what would you like to do?
Divide the wealth. I plop down that bag of coins that we got. I'll take 12 coins out as my share, and to the rest of you.
Yeah, so you put your bag of coins down on the steps, say, and start to dish them out. And you're suddenly aware that there's more than just 4 of you stood around. And the sight of silver coins is almost like causing several urchins to take an interest. And you can hear them saying, I need food for my dying cat. Silver coins, mister. Silver coins. And
A dying cat, you say?
My cat, my favourite cat ever, is dying of lack of food. Silver coins, sir. Silver coins. So you've now got 12 coins out of the pouch.
Seeing all these urchins around, and Gulliver will just pick up the coin purse off the step and just put it in his tunic.
Yeah. Okay then. So just as you're doing that, you need to make me a roll, because one of the urchins is actually having the same thought as that. Can you roll, please? But I was going to ask for a stealth roll. Is there anything else that you would like to use instead of it?
Would Streetwise apply at all here?
Or willpower.
No, it needs to be something. I would accept Streetwise if you wanted to do it.
Would I have
Lock
time
picking I would accept as well.
Would I have time to cast a spell instead?
No, because you're literally your original action was to grab the pouch.
Okay, I'll go for well, I mean, I would have thought athletics would probably be the closest thing. Or
no, because you're not doing it's more that you're trying to engage with an urchin who's really good at this. And so it's more like it's either a stealth or a streetwise.
Okay, well, which one would you like? I'll go for
Either,
street.
whichever one you would prefer. Yeah, and you suddenly notice as you go down for the purse, one of these urchins sort of like grabs it off the step. What would you like to do to anyone?
I want to try and
Bartleby, you're
catch
counting
him
your
by the
money.
back of the,
Say again, sorry.
I want to try and catch him by the scruff of the neck, of the back of his neck, close of his neck.
Okay then, yeah. So roll your unarmed combat.
I want to cast a spell.
Or
How's
heroes.
I was going to say, how's you just going to try and snatch
I'm
it
going
back?
to use. Is it worth a point?
Yeah,
I'm
so
gonna use
Hessaret,
one
the
first.
moment to snatch the pouch back is gone now. That's in the urchin's hand. So Hengist goes to grab.
Yeah, I'm going to use my luck point to reverse it. So I
You
get-
uses his luck point and grabs hold of this urchin and sort of like pulls this lad up. You figure he's probably about 6 or 7, and you sort of like grab hold of him and yank him backwards and up, and he just sort of like cries out, and there's this ear-piercing shriek followed by sobs, and all the other urchins start shouting things like, "You can't have him! Put him down, mister! Put him down! You can't take him away! You can't take him away!"
I go to get the. I say, That's my purse," and I go to take it. Take the
Yeah,
purse.
you sort of like look down, you sort of said, "That's my purse," and look down, and you notice that this urchin's not got anything in his hands at all. He's just sort of like doing there. You figure he probably, once he was grabbed, you figure he probably just dropped it, and you sort of like, he pulled up, so you sort of like got this 7-year-old boy sort of like by the scruff of his neck, and he's sort of like hanging there and saying, "I didn't do anything, mister, I didn't do anything." And or the urchins, and they've started to attract a bit of a crowd now. And sort of like you can see further down here, you can see that there's 2 militia, almost like town guards, coming down, and they're sort of like looking out as you sort of like there's a crowd of urchins sort of like pulling on your cloak and anything that's dangling, telling you to get off him. And there's some people stood around. What would you all like to do?
Is there? Can we see the coin purse on the floor?
Yeah, okay then. So you can start seeing whether or not you can see it on the floor. What about everybody else? Has Hengist, you've got an action as well. So
Hengist is going to cry, "Thief! Thief!" on the top, quite loud.
okay, so you should start shouting, "Thief! Thief!" Okay, what about Bartleby and Hessaret?
How's just going to look on the floor as well for this coin purse?
Okay, and Bartleby, what would you like to do?
If Hengist is already shouting thief, then I'm sure that me saying something won't be heard over his booming voice. I'm going to start praying.
Okay.
Yeah. Prayer of calm and tranquility.
Right, Gulliver, you're if you were casting a spell beforehand, that has probably come off by now.
Well, no, because I was going to grab the coin purse with it from his
All
hand.
right.
but
So
if it-
both you and Hessaret make perception rolls, please, to see whether or not you can see the purse. Nice roll, Gulliver. Yeah, but neither of you can see the purse. Gulliver, it's not that you can't see it, it's that it's not on the ground. And the 2 town militia come up to you, Hengist, and sort of like, they sort of like look at you and say, "Excuse me, sir, why are you holding aloft a young boy?"
I caught him thieving just as and just managed to grab him as he was trying to make his way off with.
Oh
with
yeah, and
with
they sort of like shake their heads, go, and they go up to this urchin and say, hand it back to this man. And he goes, I don't have anything. He just grabbed me and said to go with him, and I don't know what to do. And my mum will be out here soon.
That's not what happened at all. He made a grab for the purse that my friend Bartleby here has.
All right, so he turns around and says, you gestured to Bartleby and said the pound that my friend here has. And the town militia says, sorry, sir, do you have the aforementioned pouch? To Bartleby.
I'm afraid it was stolen by... I wasn't really looking, to be honest, but it appears to be gone now. That's our problem.
It appears to be gone. So...
Can you not search him to see whether or not he still has it on him?
he sort of like looks round, and this boy lets out a cry, and he sort of says, well, first of all, let's put the child down, shall we, on the floor.
Angus puts him down in front of the guard so that...
Yeah, and they frisk the child, and sort of like comes up and says, he's got nothing on him, sir, at all.
He must have grabbed it and passed it on to one of his friends, in that case.
Right. Okay. How would you like to take this forward, sir? We can bring the young lad here up against in front of the garrison captain, if that's what you wish to do. The boy lets out a squeal and starts to sob. No, not that! My mum will die if I'm not there with her. Sir?
What? I'm afraid I'm new to the town of Advent. What would be his crime? The punishment for this crime?
Well, we don't dish out punishments without a fair trial or a talking to. It could range from harsh words, beating, put into the solo well, which is just a hole that we put them in, or if he's stolen a lot, then he might even be shipped to Sildar.
I will. My companions and I are on pressing business at the moment, so I'll leave him in your hands.
And he sort of like says, right, shall I take him in front of the garrison captain then?
Do whatever you believe would be most fitting for his crime.
Okay, so
he stole our money.
One of the
put in front of the captain.
One of the guards sort of like grabs hold of him and takes him off you, and then they walk back down to the southeast. And you notice that when they get to about here, they quite unremarkably turn right, and then a few minutes later you see the boy run back into the marketplace, and the urchins sort of like disperse and go around in different places.
I'm sorry I let you down, my friends. I trusted that poor step to protect our money. I pull out the 12 coins and start divvying it into 4 piles.
Oh, yeah.
Don't put it on the floor.
No, it's in my hand. In my hand, I'm making 4 piles in my hand. I'm gonna take 3, and I'm gonna give 3.
Why are you making 4 piles?
Because we're 4 people. I'm splitting my.
Was in that pouch.
Yes, but in the meantime, I took my 12 coins out, and then I put it on the. Now I'm 12 divided by 4.
That's all right, Bartleby. You keep my share. You're obviously needing it more than me after having the purse stolen.
You didn't say that when I had to fork out 250 silver pieces to stop us going to jail, did you?
Go over here. Take your coins. Hazra?
No, it is fine, my friend. You keep. I will survive by other means.
Okay, so you spend 10, 15 minutes divvying out the coinage and talking about various things, and then it's sold in the appropriate way to however you want it to be sorted out. So adjust your money on your character sheets, and then what would you like to do, either together or separately?
Gulliver's going to say, I had an idea that I was going to get the urchins to help us find that woman who ran out, but they didn't want to help.
I think we may have enraged their community, perhaps, with our actions here.
I even offered them 2 silver pieces to find her, and they weren't even prepared to take the chance on that. I wasn't going to hand over money beforehand, though.
So,
I don't think 2 silver is enough to help a dying cat, though.
Well, 2 silver pieces is enough for... I thought it was very generous. What did you find in Zavan's building?
I'm afraid we can't get in. It's locked, and I checked the door.
and breaking in would draw far too much attention.
Amriel would frown upon that.
I think we should try asking around to see if anybody in the market to see if anybody knows where she lives.
It's a good idea. Let's go ask about this Finial. See if anybody knows her, if anybody knows where she hangs out, or where she lives.
Okay, so you all head off to the market place and you visit various merchants and sort of ask them whether or not they know where Finiel lives. And you get the same response that Tobias gave you earlier on, in the fact that she lives somewhere in the outer ring of Advent, although some of them you think probably do know the answer. It probably that they don't want to say anything, or they don't actually want to tell you. And you notice they become very, very vague if you almost like start pressing for specific details. And even to the point that if you go too far, they actually start saying, "Oh, sorry, I was thinking it was somebody else that you were talking about." And almost like pretend that they don't know her then.
How about Lauren the Large? Do we know where he lives?
No.
Is it Lauren the Large? Yep. No.
Are any of these merchants?
Nobody followed them last night. No. So he just sort of like went out. So the only two people that you know where they live is Tobias and then Zoran, because Tobias directed you to them.
Are any of these merchants that we're talking to, do any of them have like a button missing from their shirt, or a broken wagon wheel, or some other minor thing that seems to be of any mild annoyance?
Yeah, I mean they might have some things that are broken. I mean they look very smart, etc. It's not as if they're sort of like falling to bits. But if you wanted to mend some items for them, then probably some of them would quite welcome, maybe a buckle on a shoe, or a small tear in a lapel or something like that.
That's what I was thinking. If perhaps I use my prayer to mend an item, if I might be able to use influence or something to try and warm their icy hearts and vague words into something more useful. Would I be able to try that?
Yeah, by all means.
I suppose I should roll my magic first.
Yeah.
That and big money. Big money.
Yeah, so you mend something, and then what is it, your persuasion roll you want?
I was hoping for influence since I seem to be fairly nice enough.
Cool.
Just kind of, I don't know, making small talk while I'm fixing that, and then just bringing up Finial at the end of it. Any kind of information would be certainly of use to us.
Cool. Oh, that's really spooky, do you know? Because we've both got exactly the same dice roll. I rolled a 9.
I think there's a rule: is if you both get the same dice roll, it's an automatic critical success for.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Could I attempt a reroll with a luck point spend?
Yeah, by all means.
All right, guys. Okay, we're gonna make this work this time. Big money.
Nope. No,
At least it was a luck point well spent. At least you didn't use it to grab a kid off the street.
Well, that was we needed
so happened
that.
to be that they didn't have the purse.
So you probably think that Finiel probably lives round in this outer area, almost like where a little bit where the sevens are. You know, round there. So after a while of discussing with each other and talking to the merchants, it's about 10 o'clock in the morning now. And you sort of like decide to follow up on the leads that people have given you and sort of like going round almost like the back streets, the outer rim, the outer area of the of Advent. You do notice that all the palisade doors are now open. So you can see out, etc. And it's as you're walking around that Bartleby, a rather stooped woman, she looks very old. She has like a headscarf on, and she's got a stick, and she's got a tattered clothing, a tattered shawl on, and she sort of like you see her from far off, and she sort of like is hobbling down the street, sort of like the opposite way to you. And when she sort of like as she gets close to you, Bartleby, this happens. Oops, wrong. It's coming in a second.
She turns into Finihel and says, "I am here to hand myself in."
Or we just found a dragon. I'm betting she's a dragon in disguise.
Hate it when that happens.
That's where dragons live, though, isn't it? In disguise.
Yeah, until they get a big spear fired at them.
Well, I'm gonna go right on over to the stooped woman, a confident stride, with a little bit of urgency, 110% my pace if I can.
Yeah, and she sort of like hobbles over to sort of like an alleyway, and you notice that Bartleby's going off with this woman into an alleyway.
Striding with my arms pumping, just, what can I do to help?
Gulliver's going to say, Bartleby?
Hengist seeing Bartleby suddenly divert and disappear, Hengist is going to try and follow him.
Yeah, he's just going with an old woman into an alleyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. So Hengist is going to follow and keep an eye on Bartleby.
I'll say loudly to her then, "Don't worry, I'm here to help. I'm a priest of Amriel."
Yeah, and she sort of like you walk down and you suddenly notice that Hengist is coming with you. What's Hessaret and Gulliver doing?
Gulliver sort of like looks at those going down the alleyway and then looks at Hessaret and says, "Do you think we should maybe start asking people on the streets to see whether or not they found her? At least we're in the same area that she's supposed to have lodgings. Somebody might recognize our description and give us an idea of where we could find her."
Can certainly try, but we must also ask about her partner as well. I mean, if he was following her rather than chasing her, the man who had left behind her, then we might as well ask for him as well, because the two would be close together, I would have thought.
Yeah, I mean, we can ask, and I mean he's pretty easy to find. He was very big.
Yes, indeed, he was. Yes, so let's try that then, Gulliver.
So what are you two just continuing on in your search?
Yes, yeah.
But it wasn't as fact that Bartleby had run down the alleyway or anything like that. All of a sudden, he just went down the alleyway after her.
Yeah,
An old lady.
and Hengist has gone with him. Yeah.
So I mean, to Gulliver, it's almost like he had gone.
You don't need
question her.
Yeah, you don't need to justify it. If you want to go somewhere else, and that's absolutely fine.
Well, I don't think we're going to wander very far. We're just going to be in this general vicinity, aren't we, asking people?
I mean, yeah.
Okay then. So you sort of like carry on walking and then start talking to various people. And Hengist and Bartleby, you go down the alleyway, and it's you sort of like taken further and further down the alleyway, and then this woman sort of like stops. It looks like you're almost like in a little side alleyway that looks like a dead end. You know, that she sort of like brought you into, and you can see the entrance behind you, and you're sort of like a little bit way down the alleyway, and she's sort of like muttering to herself, and then she says to you, so Hessaret and Gulliver, you will not know that this conversation has happened. Mm-hmm. So they sort of like she sort of like says to you, and she says to you, Bartleby, you were at the Wild Wyvern last night, weren't you?
Yes, indeed.
And you know what happened to Zoran then?
It's a little foggy, but yeah, I mostly remember.
And once she said that, she almost like straightens herself up. And you suddenly realise that it's Finiel in front of you, and she almost like holds her hand up as if to say don't do anything, and she says, ate a bad mushroom, my arse, I tell you. Oh, Zoran was poisoned all right, but it wasn't bad food, believe me. That traitor Tobias did it, curse him, and I'm next. If he would do that to the boss, then there's no telling what he'll do to me. I need protection. Why? Because the boss had something Tobias wants, and if that rat didn't find it, he'll probably think I have it and come after me. I should explain.
Please.
The dead fella you saw was Zoran. He was our boss, the four of us, me, Loram, and she points sort of like back past your shoulder in yours, Hengist, and you suddenly notice that it gets a little bit darker in the alleyway as Loram sort of like comes out and he's just sort of like stood there. That snake Tobias and his barbarian friend Ark. Watch out for him too. Ark's a bit weird as the day is long, not knowing what he'll say or do next. He listens to Tobias though. Anyway, we do all sorts of work. Buying, selling, finding things, finding people, getting information. You understand, don't you?
I suppose.
Hengist with his hand on his sword says, have you got somewhere where we can find you if we need to?
She carries on talking. There have been others, come and gone, but it's always been the four of us. And then lately, the five of us, with Ark. We were a good team, but now this. I can't believe Zoran's just gone. He was like a father to me. What drove Tobias to murder, you're asking? What difference does it make? What matters is that he did it, which means he'll stop at nothing. I'm not safe. I spent last night hiding in a haystack, for pity's sake. Are you going to help me or not? I can pay. I can't stay, though. I've lingered too long already. He has eyes everywhere. What do you say?
Hengist will look at Bartleby with a eyebrow raised and say, I think we should try and help. What do you say, Bartleby?
I agree. What, Finiel? What did you say that Zorand had that Tobias wanted?
He has half of a map.
Half of a map.
Yeah.
What good is half of a map?
Well, exactly. Tobias has one half. I assume now, since Duran had it, and she pulls out a map, have the other half. It looks a bit like a square piece of paper, a rectangular piece of paper, but it's almost been teared corner to corner, like that. And she holds it. She doesn't get it anywhere close to you. It looks like a prized possession. And she says, this is my half. Zoran's got the other half. Or Tobias has it now.
What use does this map have? Where does it lead to?
It's quite simple. It leads to Hessaret's treasure. And
right.
I think we will leave it. That seems a suitable moment to finish tonight's session on. Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, so you can probably tell Hessaret and Gulliver what happened next, and then you need to decide what you're going to do, next, and where you're going to go. Just to let you know, after Finiel has said that, she states that she has to go, and she literally tucks the map away inside her blouse and scales what seems to be some kind of almost like a rope ladder that you now see is at the back, and Laram goes the other thing, and she turns round to you and she says, don't worry, someone will fetch you later so we can come to an arrangement. And she scarpers off and leaves you two alone in the alleyway. Brilliant. So let me put you back onto the starting page. There you go. So yeah, we'll start of next week's adventure from that point. So keep your notes ready. So first things first, does anybody have any notices or announcements that they would like to make?
I do not know.
No.
Nope, all good.
Cool. Okay then. So we will be playing Shadowrun on Tuesday. However, it'll probably be a later start because I'm actually working till 7. So we'll probably start about past rather than 7, if everybody's around, that is. And on Thursday, we have a new game coming on, and we're going to be playing some Call of Cthulhu. And so that's starting to happen on Thursday at 7 o'clock. We did the 0 session last week, which I think you can find on YouTube. If you go to my channel In Wills on YouTube to see the character generation. So we did that. That was session 0 last week. And then this week we will start on the adventure, which will be quite exciting. And then tomorrow, 3 o'clock BST time, I'll be playing some Elder Scrolls Online. Just trying to finish off Somerset Isle. Very emotional stream today. So many wonderful storylines coming to an end, and lots of people who died as well. So, so that's it. So please, if you would like to follow the channel, that'd be absolutely fantastic. We will be back with this motley crew next Saturday at 7 o'clock to see the next thrilling episode of Hessaret's Treasure. Until then, I will say to each and every one of you, please be who you are and say what you think, because the people who mind don't matter and the people who matter don't mind. Have fun. And I will catch you all later. And until then, consider yourself waffled.